So, good evening, everyone. We are
Good
back.
evening.
We are back to the Spirits book. We are in the introduction. Reminder that we record our sessions. It's posted on our page on YouTube. So, if you don't feel comfortable with your name, image, or comments on recording line, please abstain from showing your face, your comments, or leave it all together. Okay. So I'm going to share the screen here. You see that we are in the Spirits book. We are in the introduction. We did 2 weeks of the introduction. Then last week was Thanksgiving. I hope you all had a nice Thanksgiving. So we didn't have our studies, and we are back to the introduction. So before we start, just a reminder of what we studied. We studied the very beginning, which is the definitions, a very important definition, which is the definition of soul, which is in Spiritism, an incarnated spirit. So again, in Spiritism, we call soul an incarnated spirit, and a discarnated spirit we called errant spirit or wandering spirit. And that's perfect spirit. A perfected spirit is a spirit that no longer needs reincarnation. It's not an errant or wandering spirit. We also saw the definition of vital fluid, the vital principle, vital fluid. And then last week, we studied the origins of the spiritualist movement, a couple of weeks ago, of the spiritualist movement and of Spiritism. How it all started with Kardec presenting us the turning tables, talking a little bit about how it all started, the communications, and we finished by the introduction of the planchette. And for those that were not here, I'm going to share again the planchette so you can all see what is a planchette. You see the pencil there. You see that one or more persons can put their hands on it and it will move and write. And this is important because we are going to start going back to it a little bit. Kardec continues the explanation talking about the planchette. I hope you all saw it. I'm going to stop share there and share the Spirits book again. So we are going to ask Paco. I hope your connection is good today so you can read.
Let's hope so. So start?
Yeah.
Okay. Next, it was realized that the basket and the planchette merely form an appendage to the hand. Mediums, directly holding the pencil, found out that they were forced to write under an impulse that was involuntary and often at an intense speed. Not only were the communications carried out more quickly in this manner, but they became easier and more extensive. Today, this method is the most frequently employed, and the number of individuals endowed with this gift is substantial and constantly growing. Thank you. Experience gradually revealed several other varieties of the mediumistic faculty, and it was discovered that communications could also be received through speech, hearing, sight, touch, and so on, and even through the direct writing of the spirits themselves, without the assistance of the medium's hand or a pencil.
Okay.
After this was
okay. So we talked about the planchette or the basket that was used in the origins of mediumship communication, and Kardec tells us that very soon they realized that you didn't really need those instruments. that you basically just needed a medium to hold the pencil, and they were going to write under an impulse that was involuntary to them.
What happened? Yeah.
Okay, so someone has. Okay, I muted. So so the communications happened in that manner, and Kardec says that in those days, this method was the most frequently employed, and the number of individuals endowed with this gift or the gift of mediumship and substantial and growing. Well, as they become developing the the mediums and the mediumship and the teachings, of course, more people becoming aware of it found themselves to be mediums and start experimenting with it. And soon also they found that besides the psychography, which is what Kardec was describing here, there are other varieties of mediumship or mediumistic faculty, which is psychophony, hearing, seeing, touching, and so on and so forth. And including direct writing, which is where you place a paper and a pencil, or even with no pencil, inside a drawer, and the paper appears written by itself. And you also have the precipitated painting that I mentioned several times, that we can find at the Lilydale Museum, which is also a painting made without the interference of the medium doing it. Of course, you always need a medium for any medium mystic phenomena, and we are studying this on the second part with Elmo, and we are really going into the basics of mediumship. So for that, I ask you to stay on the second part. Okay? Any questions here, comments?
I have a question.
Sure.
In this line here it says, without the assistance of the medium's hand or a pencil. Don't we need a medium always?
Yes, but you can have the direct writing, doesn't have the medium's hand or a pencil. They need a medium for the ectoplasm. So for
Exactly.
physical phenomena, you need ectoplasm. So you need a medium with the medium being aware or not, but the medium is donating ectoplasm. And with the ectoplasm, the phenomena is produced. So a piece of paper, you'll find a piece of paper with writings in it produced by the spirit. That's what's called direct writing. So
okay, yeah, okay.
It's different from psychography, where the medium grabs a pencil or a pen and writes it. Okay?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Oh, so it's not using the medium's hand. Okay.
Yeah. But always using the medium, a medium. There is no mediumship without a medium present somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you. Go on.
Yeah.
After this was established, the role and action taken by the medium in obtaining the replies needed to be determined, both mechanically and morally, and became a crucial point in proving the authenticity of Spiritism. 2 points of the utmost importance that could not escape an astute observer answer this question. First is the manner in which the basket moves under the influence of the medium. The medium simply takes his or her fingers on the edge of the basket in such a manner that it would be impossible to guide it in any direction whatsoever. When 2 or 3 individuals place their fingers on the same basket at the same time, any sort of control is made even more unfeasible as a truly phenomenal harmony of movements and thoughts would be required to produce the same reply to the question asked. This difficulty is further amplified by the fact that the handwriting often radically changes with each spirit who communicates. And whenever a given spirit communicates, the same writing is reproduced. A medium would have to train him or herself to change his or her handwriting an infinite number of times, and would also have to memorize the unique penmanship of each spirit. Wow.
Okay.
Very good.
So what Kardec is telling us here, we can understand here the need of having the basket of the planchette in the beginning. It was in a way it was a way to avoid fakery. Okay, meaning if you remember the planchette I showed in the beginning of this class, if you had three people with their fingers over the planchette and the planchette starts writing, how can you say that these three people together are doing the writing? And plus, the writing, when you have different spirits, you have different handwriting. And when a spirit comes back, you have the same handwriting again. Different handwritings, different spirits, same handwriting, same spirits.
Wow.
So for this to be faked, you need a lot of trickery from people. Can it be faked? Yes, of course. But it makes it more difficult to fake. Of course, when you have one person holding a pencil and writing, you can always argue that that person is writing his or her own thoughts, and it's harder to prove otherwise. But when you have two or three people with their fingers on the planchette or on the basket, and the planchette and the basket is writing, it becomes much more hard to fake. Now, of course, as time went by, and those that were seriously studying it, like Kardec, felt comfortable that it was really a spirit communicating on the other side, that this was the work of spirits, then you no longer need a basket or a planchette. You just need a medium writing, and then you analyze the communication. And by analyzing the communication, which is the next step, you are going to see if the communication comes from a serious spirit, from a less serious spirit, or even sometimes you can even guess that it comes from the medium itself, what the phenomena we call enemies. Okay, so that's what Kardec was explaining in this paragraph. Okay, questions, comments here? Okay, so let's finish this item.
Okay. The second point is the nature of the replies given, which are often beyond the scope of the knowledge or intellectual capacity of the medium, especially when the questions are asked of an abstract or scientific nature. Mediums are frequently unaware of what they are prompted to write, since the question asked and the reply given may be in a foreign language, or the question may even be asked telepathically. The basket or the mediums are often compelled to write spontaneously without any question being put forward and regarding a completely random subject. Okay, the replies in some cases are marked by such wisdom, depth, and relevance, and convey such elevated and inspiring thoughts that they could only come from a superior intelligence, instilled with the purest sense of morals and ethics. Other times, they're so banal, shallow, and trivial that it's impossible to believe they came from the same source. Drastic differences in language can only be explained by the variety of intelligences who communicate with us. Are these intelligences human, or do they transcend humanity? This is the next point to be discussed in this book, the complete explanation of which is provided by the spirits themselves. Go on.
Yes.
Go on. Okay.
Yeah.
These
Yes.
facts, while beyond our usual sphere of observation, do not occur in secret for the benefit of only a single individual. They transpire in broad daylight so that everyone can see them, and are obtained by tens of thousands of individuals every day. These effects have a cause, as they reveal the action of intelligence and will. They are clearly beyond the realm of merely physical effects. Many theories have been proposed regarding this subject. We will thoroughly examine these notions at a later time and determine whether they can account for all the phenomena now occurring. For the time being, we will assume that beings distinct from the human race exist. Since this is the explanation given by the intelligences communicating with us, let us see what they say.
Okay. So when we talk about the communications, now he's addressing the communications that we receive, the replies. They are often beyond the scope of the knowledge or intellectual capacity of the medium. And we have a clear example of that when Francisco Xavier was asked in the famous TV program called Pinga Fogo about those two books that we finally have translated into English, Mechanisms of Mediumship and Evolution in Two Worlds, that are very difficult books to read and understand. Very interesting books, but very hard and very difficult. And he was asked how could he have written those books having only finished primary school or basic school. And he answers by saying that, yes, he agrees they are very difficult and he doesn't know how they were produced. So, you see here that the medium doesn't have the knowledge of what he's writing, which is clearly the case in those books. So the spirits, they are communicating on things of abstract scientific nature. Mediums are unaware what they are writing. Sometimes they are writing in a different language that it's not their language, that they don't know how to speak in the present incarnation. And sometimes they answer things that they were never asked. So they start writing on a completely random subject. So all of this proves that there is someone behind the writings. And also when they analyze the replies, in some cases they are wise, they have depth, and they are relevant. They are inspired, and sometimes they are shallow, they are banal, and they trivial. And when one communication comes after the other, it begs the question: can they come from the same source? And the obvious answer: no, they cannot. Different intelligence will write different communications. So you find differences in language. You find differences in the expression. So the question is, are these intelligence human, or they transcend humanity? And this is what they are going to discuss in the book. And also what Kardec says is that all this information, it's not secret. It belongs to everyone, doesn't benefit a single individual, benefits humanity. So thousands of individuals are receiving each day. And the understanding that they have is that there are intelligence behind. This intelligence tells us that they are distinct from the human race. It doesn't mean, that means that they are not incarnated. They are not, they do not belong to the human race in the terms, in the sense that they are not incarnated. And that's basically what they present to us. And then Kardec says, let's analyze what information they are giving to us, and that's what we're going to enter into the next item. So here, any questions here on this part? We are studying mediumship with Elmo in the second part of this class, and we are studying the very beginning of mediumship also. So we're studying the different types of mediumship and the different manifestations. So you know, if you have questions specifically related to mediumship, you can ask on the second part. Okay. Any questions here? Comments? Okay. So the next item, it's when Kardec presents the basics of Spiritism. So we are going to go very slowly because there are several definitions that are very important. You know, we have to remember that we are starting to study Spiritism, so everything is new. Every concept is new for us. And so yes, we need to understand all the concepts as they were being presented to us for the first time, for us to understand what are the basics of these teachings that are arriving at our hands. Okay, go ahead, Paco.
Okay. The communicating beings call themselves spirits or geniuses, as we have already remarked. In many cases, this spirit belongs to human beings who at one time lived on earth. They make up the spiritual world as we make up the physical world during our earthly life. We will now briefly summarize the critical points of Spiritism that the spirits have communicated to us in order that we may easily counter certain objections. God is eternal, absolute, immaterial, unique, all-powerful, supremely just, and good. God has created the universe, which comprises all beings, animate and inanimate, material and immaterial. Material beings make up the visible or physical world, and immaterial beings make up the invisible or spiritual world. In other words, the spirit world.
Okay. So here, Kardec is telling us that these beings that are communicating, they call themselves spirits or geniuses. And they say that in many cases, they belonged to human, these spirits belong to human beings who at one time lived on earth. So he doesn't say in all cases, he said in many cases, because there may be spirits there that incarnated elsewhere, but not on earth. But they say that in many cases are spirits that were incarnated on earth before that come and tell us, and they are going to describe. So what Kardec does is to give us a series of definitions brought by the spirits. And he said, I'm bringing these bullet points, so later, which is the later items on this introduction, he's going to address some objections that have appeared in terms of Spiritism. And of course, when we talk about the universe, ourselves, and where we are, where we have been, and where we are going, we have to start with God. God is the origin, and you see that God is the first question of the Spirit's book. So we have to start, and the first definition has to be the definition of God according to Spiritism. God is eternal, absolute, immaterial, unique, all-powerful, supremely just, and good. So it's eternal, does not have a start, does not have an end. It's not material, it's only one, it's all-powerful, is supremely just and good. So if it was not, then there would be something different than God. And we are going to go back to that when we start studying the Spirit's book. So God created the universe, which comprises all beings, animated, inanimated, material and immaterial, and all world, all galaxies, and everything known in the universes.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, material beings make up the visible or physical world, those that we can see, and immaterial beings or spirits make up the invisible spiritual world. In other words, the spirit world. Okay, so this is the basic definition of God and the creation according to Spiritism. Okay, God created spirits and God created matter that comes from the universal fluid or the cosmic fluid, as we will see later. So in the universe, we have God, we have spirits, and we have everything else which derives from the universal fluid. That includes our physical body, our spiritual body, the matter that we live on, and everything, including our thoughts, our language, everything is matter. Okay? Questions here? Comments? Daniela?
My daughters asked me if God created itself. I don't know what to say.
That's a beautiful question.
It's a very interesting question, a very philosophical one. So if God created itself, what existed before? If it's eternal, it was not created. So God cannot have created itself because God has always existed.
Mm. Wow, that's beautiful.
Isn't okay. I somehow I'm can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Go ahead.
Can you? Yeah.
Yes, yes. Go ahead.
I thought that. Okay, I thought that I am eternal, and I am eternal because I was created, and I have no end,
Yes.
and that God is infinite because I learned that here. God is infinite. That's the difference. That's the difference between God and between God and I. He's infinite with no beginning and no end.
Can you hear me?
Am I making sense?
Yes.
Huh?
Yeah,
yes,
go ahead.
I hear you.
Yeah, that's one of the difference between you and God. Yes, to differentiate, eternal is with a beginning without an end, and infinite is without a beginning, without an end. So what is infinite is eternal, but what's eternal is not infinite. That's why you usually say that,
yes.
yeah. So that's usually say that God is eternal because God being infinite is also eternal.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We are eternal, we are not infinite.
We're eternal, we're not infinite.
Yeah, and I was just checking the original. It says eternal also, which is correct. God is eternal, as I almost said. But
yeah, it's eternal. What is infinite is also eternal.
Yeah. But what's eternal is not infinite. Yes.
But it was not created.
I remember. I learned that here.
Yeah.
You pay attention. Good.
I guess I am paying attention. Yeah.
Luis, you have something?
Yes, I do. Um, I don't know. I totally agree with God being the great architect, the creator, the first cause, etc. But what's sometimes complicated for me is that, in my personal view, we presume too much about God. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, we presume his intentions, his wishes.
Very good. Very good.
But I think this is, a stretch. And I wonder, obviously, I'm asking your view, if we are not, attributing too much of our own interpretation to that. And I always try to remember the scale of the universe. I think we forget how huge the universe is. The 3-4 trillion stars in the universe, the size of it in terms of space and time and construction. How can, we are this thing, we are one of 8 billion inhabitants of a world in a second class star in an okay galaxy, one of 200 billions. How can we presume the intentions of God or whatever? I mean, he's the architect, he made everything. Okay, and he's there, we are here, we are not the same. Aren't we presuming too much?
Uh,
Mm.
Again, I think it's hard to go into this more profound discussion of God because we lack, as you say, we are in a sense we try to move away from our human nature to abstract from our concepts to imagine what perfection uh, would be. But I think it's anyone's guess in terms of how limited we are in our description of God. But I think that what Kardec says here, eternal, absolute, immaterial, unique, all powerful, supremely just and good, are all attributes of God that cannot be argued, cannot be discussed. Now, is it there? Are there 1,000 more, or are there things that we can't understand? I'm sure there are several more things that we cannot understand, and also how everything works in relation to God. And Divaldo sometimes he mentioned this, that God is so far away from his ability to understand that that's why he rather connects with Joanna or Jesus, because they are more easy, closer to him, and easier to understand. Um, but it's again, it's we are going to be uh, discussing philosophy here for a long time, and we'll get back to it on the when the spirits book start, because the whole first chapter is the discussion about God. So I'll bring more ideas and more discussions when we start the book again, when we talk about God in chapter 1. Okay,
Okay,
but
but I concede that your point is correct. What's stated here in the test is correct. I think I was just, sharing a personal frustration because I see in many spiritist explanation what, in my view, is an excess of a presumption that we should not have. But sorry, I concede your point. You are correct. Whatever is in this test is uh, 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 non-arguable.
I think it's our religious inheritance that
Yes.
we humanize God, as someone, as Eric wrote in the comments here. We
Yeah.
tend to humanize God because that's how we can relate, and we bring that from many centuries of thinking of, first thinking of God as an old guy sitting in a throne, and then thinking of God as someone that was punishing us for our sins, and
And that
pretty much.
painting at Capella Sistina, I mean, we always think about God just like that.
Yeah, which is, which is, so how many millennia we thought about God by, well, first we didn't think about God, we thought about many gods. To come to a God is one God, it's 2,000 years only of, let's say we are 40,000 years as humans, or 15,000 years as humans. So the concept of a single God is a recent one in terms of the history. So on top of that, our limitations in the capacity of understanding God makes us use limited words. And I agree that we have six attributes of God. Do you think that God has only 6 attributes? But I don't think we have language to add to it, and not even understanding. Sorry, Renato, you have a question. Go ahead.
Just a quick question, because I've been talking with evangelicals a lot. So, so all the answers that we have describing God here, they are. That's a question. Are they interpretation of high order spirit, perfect spirit, whatever you want to call it, of God? Right? It's not like a directing answer, like an interview with God, and God say, "I'm this, this, and that." Correct?
These are explanations given by superior spirits, limited to our own language. Okay, because I'm sure that they know more that they can tell us, because we don't have words to explain.
I'm asking because most of the times when I'm talking to them, they refer to the Bible as God Himself that gave the message, and I'm like, okay, and they question, why would you go to read anything else but the Bible? And then I give you the answer. They always tell me, because I'm not as intelligent as you, so I need something else to understand the Bible. But so that's why I was asking if the answers, in all, spirits books are from, high order spirits, that they're enough for us to get to perfection is enough. I'm not questioning that. I'm just saying it's not like Jesus, because, Jesus, we have answers and things direct from Jesus. So we don't have that kind of thing like direct from God. This is the interpretation or whatever from spirits of.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yes. Yeah. It's not God's word. This is what you hear from the evangelicals and others. But God, first we have to move away from him or her, from God, right? We have to go
Exactly.
to it with capital letters. So that's the problem that we have, right? First, if you call God a him, you are discriminating against women, and God is not him or her,
Very good.
right? So we don't have a description, we don't have a definition. So, and God God communicates with us through intermediaries, the more evolved spirits, and the more they evolve, the closer they are with God, and the closer they are in co-creating the universe with God. But what does that mean? I don't know. We have no idea. So yes, you are right. These are not words from God. These are words from elevated spirits. How elevated? Also, I don't know the answer for you. The Spirits book It's a collection of communications from the spirits organized by the Spirit of Truth, which many believe to be Jesus. Some believe that is a collection of evolved spirits. Okay, so it's their supervision on the words what we're discussing here. Okay.
Johnny, I really liked this latest comments by you. I think it's very precise. And if I might say the word, besides really missing Renato's questions, I was really missing those questions. But your particular question reminded me of one particular spiritual session that I remember clearly, where a spirit came and he actually asked the, how do you say in English, orientator?
The counselor.
The counselor, if he was speaking to God, because he was, what's the word you use, evangelic?
Yeah, evangelical, yeah.
And he was told that when he, passed away, he would be received by God himself. So he asked the counselor, "Are you God?"
Yeah.
And I find it extremely presumption, that any of us, 1 in 8 billion in this small planet, in this small star, in this a single constellation to, presume that. Anyway, sorry, Johnny, I had to comment that.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. Yeah, we see that. Okay, Elmo, anything to add here? No.
No.
Okay. All right, Paco, let's go to the next 3.
Oh, where are we? Spirit?
The spiritual world.
No, the physical world.
The spiritual.
The spiritual. Okay, the spiritual world is the normal, original, and eternal world, pre-existent to and surviving everything else. The physical world is secondary. It could cease to exist or never have existed, and this would have no effect on the essence of the spiritual world. Spirits temporarily don an ephemeral material envelope, which is destroyed upon death, and the freedom is restored.
Okay, so there's new concepts talking about the physical world and the spiritual world. So the spiritual world, and again, we come with the eternal here, is the original, normal, and ever existing world. And again, the word world, maybe it's not the most correct one, but we don't have any other to define the universe. So the spiritual world is pre-existent to and survives everything else. What does Kardec means by that? God, if we can try to understand the creation, which again, I don't believe we can, the creation starts with the spiritual world and then the spirits, or the spiritual world and the spirits at the same time, or intellectual principle. I don't think we can understand how it all started, because that would be to understand God in a way that we still can't. Eventually we will. As we get perfected, we will understand how the creation was done. But at this point, we have to be content to understanding that the spiritual world was pre-existent to the physical worlds, in a sense, and survives everything else. So he says here that the physical world is only secondary. We know that Earth as a planet had a start and will have an end. 3 to 5 billion years will be destroyed. So it's temporary, and it's secondary, because it's our living place for a small period of time. We spend more time in the spiritual world than in the physical world. as we evolve. If you start adding all the time we spend here and there in the beginning, reincarnations are short and very successive, in quick succession. As we evolve more and more, we spend more time in the spiritual world. So in the end, if you add everything, we likely spend more time in the spiritual world on our evolution than on physical worlds. But physical worlds are temporary. And if they have never existed, they'll make no difference in the spiritual world. And again, this is just a theory that because it exists, we cannot prove one way or the other. And spirits temporarily live in the physical world with a material envelope that death destroys, and our freedom is restored. Remember, we're beginning to study here. So these are basic concepts. We're not talking yet about reincarnation. We're going to talk later in another item. But what the spirits are telling us is that we incarnate, we receive a physical body that when we die is destroyed, and the spirits are free again. So they are implying that the physical body is a sort of prison for us when we are incarnated. Okay? Comments, questions here?
I just want to know why didn't you like the word eternal world? Why would you were kind of adamant at it? Why, why didn't you like it?
Because what is the spiritual world? So you are calling everything the universe that is not physical is spiritual. Yeah, that's fine. I'm fine with it. I'm just I was just pondering if we couldn't eventually find a different word to define the spiritual world. But that's what we have, and that's what we use. I'm not going to argue against the spirits. I'm just it was just
you didn't
just
like
a thought
it, I guess.
here.
Yeah, you didn't like
Because
it.
we have, you have the physical world and we have the spiritual world. That's clear. But the physical world is something more more easy for us to understand.
Ephemeral.
You have the planets, you have the suns, you have everything that you call physical world, right? And the spiritual world, it's not really the space between the planets and the sun and everything. That's not the spiritual world. The spiritual world is a different dimension. So it was just me pondering if we could eventually find a better word. But it's the spiritual world. That's not split hairs here.
May I, Johnny?
Yes.
Just to share with you something that came up in a recent research cosmology finds in this century 2000, and it, in my opinion, a lot of what we learned from the spirits. I actually mentioned this yesterday in my class, and I actually do an extra class just about this because I find it so interesting. I don't know what it is to you as well, but listen to me. Current cosmologists, when they study the Milky Way, the only way they can equate's not the word, explain with equations the orbits of the stars in the Milky Way, it's a spiral galaxy, is with something they called dark matter. Dark matter is just something else that is there that CNA cannot explain. And you know how much dark matter we're talking about here? 99.5, 0.5% of the actual estimated mass of the Milky Way is actual matter. The other 99.5 is what they call dark matter. If we go back to the teachings that we have already learned about universal fluids, that it's part ethereal matter, part actual matter that we know. Why couldn't the eternal matter be this dark matter that explains the orbits of the planets? I find that fascinating. Sorry to interrupt the class, but I like so much when we found support on our current science to the concepts that have been taught by spirits 150 years ago. Close parentheses.
Very good.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
good.
that's good. And I remember Julio saying, right, that dark matter is just something that we have no idea what it is. So that's why we call dark matter.
I remember that too. Yes. Yeah, I remember that too.
Yeah.
And it is especially consistent that it has gravity, because all we know about the ethereal worlds around us, that not around us, but interpenetrate our world, is that they have gravity, they have location, they have, a sky, ground. So it's very consistent that it could be made out of dark matter that helps us in all the gravity equations of the galaxy. Anyway, sorry about that, but it really is fascinating to me.
Yeah. Thanks. Renato,
Yes.
go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because you're saying that you're looking for another word for the spiritual and physical
Physical world.
and
No
everything.
physical, not physical, spiritual.
Yeah, spiritual. Yeah, because I remember also Julio saying, breaking down that since we became spirits, we have the perispirit, so that's the matter is already there. So so we have the pretty much everything has matter, and when we are in the physical, then we have the physical part. So then we have the spiritual part, the matter part, and the physical part. So for the physical part, we have like two definitions: matter, material, and physical. And for the spiritual, we only have one. So that's why you were saying, right? That's why you are trying to find another word for the spiritual part.
Yeah, if you remember when Julio gave his explanation, right? You have God, you have the spirits, and you have matter.
Cosmic fluid.
Yeah, cosmic fluid, the universal fluid. The spiritual world, it's part of the universal fluid. The spirit world, the world of the spirits, it's that part where spirits are created and spiritual principle as a spiritual principle. That's the definition that Julio gave some time ago. That
Yes.
that it's. But the problem is once there is a spiritual principle, it's always associated with universal fluid, with matter from the beginning. So there is no spirit or spiritual principle that is separated from matter at any point of the creation. So once the spiritual principle is created, immediately it associates with matter. So it's kind of a difficult discussion here. Again, very philosophical to separate one from the other. But I understand what you said and what Julio brought to us. He liked to call the spirit world that part of the creation that he had the spirits, and spiritual world the part that that's where we go when we leave the physical body. But again, words, don't get lost in words, please, because the definitions are more important. Okay.
Thank you.
This continues, and we have a lot to discuss. So I rather leave it for next week, because each item that we have, we are going to read 2, 3, 4 items and then stop, because all of them are basic concepts of Spiritism according to the spirits and what Kardec organized. This is the most important, in my opinion, item of the introduction, the item 6, which Kardec presents us with all the basic definitions of Spiritism. Okay, so we're going to come back next week to it. I don't know if you have any other comments or questions, Elmo, anything to add here?
No, I don't think so. I think most of the discussion should be left when we start studying the Spirit's book, actually.
Yeah, it's hard for us, because we are pretending that we don't know anything, so to go back to the basics, and we all know a lot. So and we end up going deeper into the basic definitions. That's something that happened last time we started studying this book, if you remember, Elmo. And it's only natural, but it's fine. I think all these discussions are actually very stimulating, right?
Oh, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
And it really ends up to what Louis said. Louis said that we know basically nothing, but we are looking for answers, and it's of our nature. Then when we don't have the answer, we make one up. We need answers, and as we evolve, we make better things up until you get to the truth. And the problem of the limitation of a verbal communication, what is God? The supreme intelligence. Intelligence is for humans. God deserves a word much greater than intelligence, but what word would that be? We don't have one. So we have to use what we have.
Yes. So the spiritual world, as I just answered to Eric on the chat, it's where discarnate spirits live. Yes, where we go in between incarnations, and perfect spirits, where no longer need incarnations, also exist. But the spiritual world, of course, as we know, and we're going to discuss it later, has many levels also. So the levels of this, they are not all in the same place. The spiritual world has many different planes of existence in it. And we go to the ones according to our level of evolution. We find ourselves in the spiritual world, surrounded by spirits that have the same level of evolution that we have. Okay.
But the part that I like about your explanation, João, to interrupt, but just to emphasize, that it's real. There is not it's real, it's actual. And in my opinion, it's part of what governs gravity in the universe. So it's not, a figment of our imagination. It's real.
Yes, it's real. It's not the same as a physical world. It's different, but it's real, of course, because we are real. And if we are eternal, we have to stay somewhere, and we don't keep floating around. We need to be in a material place, not physical place, material place. So the spiritual world is matter, because everything is matter, right? Now,
it's universal fluid. Everything is universal fluid. Our perispirit, this.
Yeah, exactly. Just when we have a physical body, we are in a physical world. When we don't have, we are in the spiritual world, which is matter. Right? You just have to read Nosso Lar to see how much matter there is in Nosso Lar, right? You have the houses, you have the...
It's a matter everything. Of, the thing has to do with the names. You could call matter just this matter, but we have learned that universal fluid, when etherized, generates for the ethereal spirit, things that look like matter. And they tell us that it's in more combinations even than we have here. And that's what they use for their technology. So it's all universal fluid. It's not imagined, it's real.
Yes, absolutely. And that's it's one of the most important contributions of Spiritism to our knowledge, right? It's the understanding that the spiritual world exists. It's a reality. It's not a creation, or it's not some clouds that you stay seated on. All these wrong notions that we had throughout our evolution. Right? Okay, so we have to stop here. So this Saturday, we have a lecture by Leah Gouveia called Time for Solidarity. She's an active member of the Spiritist Society of North Beach here in close next to Washington. And the lecture will be on the United States Spiritist Federation website, YouTube, Facebook, and TVSay. Okay. So for those that, this is not an event that happens this weekend, promoted by the International Spiritist Federation, which is an event in Spanish directed to all countries, Spanish-speaking countries. All the countries will present themselves and tell the story of Spiritism in their own countries. So if you go to the International Spiritist Council website, you'll find more information there on the event. It's Saturday and Sunday, and you'll find the times there. I believe our time is Saturday. Saturday from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. and on Sunday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Okay, so if you like to hear more in Spanish about the countries, the Spiritism in those countries, feel free to join them. On Sunday, we're going to study, this is the first Sunday of the month, so we are going to study In the Greater World, and it's chapter 16 that we are going to study, okay? So join us if you can at 11 on Sunday, okay? Carol, can you do our final prayer?
Sure, yes. Thank you, John. Infinite Creator, Supreme Intelligence, and First Cause, we are grateful for the opportunity this evening to be together for our study of the Spirit's book, the introductory chapters. We are grateful to be together, and through the connectivity of Zoom, we are thankful and that we continue with these classes ongoing. We give thanks to our spiritual benefactors, the good spirits, those who are with us, guiding us, helping us to learn, absorb, and study more deeply these teachings. We are grateful that we have this opportunity and that the spirits are with us, blessing us each day. As we go forth during the week, may we continue with our prayers, with our studies, with our mindfulness, and assessing the things that we have done throughout the week, that we can improve each day to better ourselves, to move ourselves toward becoming a perfected spirit. We know that we move from the spiritual world back into the physical world, taking a physical body, and we return again. With each progression, we are learning, we are evolving, we are developing who we are as a spirit and as a soul in form. We are grateful that we have this opportunity that we can study together, helping each other to grow, develop, and be more fully enriched. We humbly ask for safety and protection as we go forth now to family, friends, loved ones, and coworkers. May we be mindful of our actions, and when in doubt, may we use the golden rule to guide the way. We close now and humbly ask for the love and light of Christ to be within us, to guide us, and to be in our hearts always. We close this portion of the meeting now, and we ask that we continue to be beacons of light, serving and being charitable in our activities each